Well, hello, y'all. I am attorney Michael Ehline. Give me a bunch of 5x5 so I know that y'all can hear me. It looks like I've got comms, but you never know with this dag burn YouTube. Sometimes you got them, sometimes you don't. So I'm coming at I'm coming at you live today. I'm coming at you from work, so this won't be a very long one. I will try to go live later tonight. This is just something that I wanted to cover because it's a breaking story, and I wanted to fill you in on what's going on with the stories that are near and dear to Team MPE as well as to Team DLZ as well as BZ Watchdog. So BZ Watchdog, I'm going to cover. He's doing a live later on. I'm going to drop the link for you that's going to give you an update on Carolina and Fort Worth's case. And this is a case in Texas where a First Amendment auditor, a woman who is, I don't know, 90 pounds, got dropped on her head for daring to try and videotape some police officers who appeared to be in collusion with a private parking lot company. And so she was doing some investigative journalism. This particular police officer, I think his name was Kruger, didn't like it. So he dropped her on her head. Apparently, she got a brain injury from that. I'm not 100% sure. I don't represent her in that matter. By the way, I am attorney Michael Ehline. I am an attorney licensed in both California and Texas. I primarily do personal injury cases, but what's near and dear to me is police abuse and unalienable rights under natural law. So before I get the show started to allow people to start showing up and come in, I'll just go ahead and kick it off.
To another edition of Ask Michael Ehline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
All right. So the bottom line is, this is the reason why this buffer law Louisiana case is sort of near and dear to me, is because a friend of ours, Chili DeCastro, was arrested and jailed, falsely imprisoned, and thrown into Clark County Jail. Ultimately, his case got reversed on appeal, at least in part, for violating the so-called 21-foot rule. At least ostensibly, that's what it looked like the judge made her ruling on. And that case was reversed on appeal. This was a state law case, and it was 21 foot. Well, now in Louisiana, the governor of Louisiana passed a 25-foot, signed into law a 25-foot buffer law rule. And people are up in arms about this because it's clear to most people who understand the First Amendment that law enforcement are having a harder and harder time raising revenue, and more we're seeing that their primary job is to raise revenue for the municipal corporations, whether it be by civil asset forfeiture laws or by hook or by crook, trying to find a way to raise money so they can buy new shiny new cruisers and have a really nice new building and get bonuses and raises at our expense as we the people. At least that's what a lot of my audience are saying. And so Louisiana, thanks to Steve Lados, by the way, thank you, Steve, for always breaking the best news. Louisiana recently passed a 25-foot buffer law, and now this case is in front of a federal judge. And basically what the law is about is, if you are involved in any way, shape, or form with a police officer and you're watching a traffic stop, you're trying to film a traffic stop, that officer can say, hey, you need to back up, you got to be at least 21 feet away, yada, yada, yada. And if you don't back up, you could be arrested. And so the the federal judge's name, it appears to be Drew Costley, or I'm trying to see here. Well, Drew Costley is a reporter. He wrote a story for the Louisiana Illuminator, and he talks about it. And the federal judge is in Baton Rouge, and basically there's now a challenge to the law. And what it's saying is, if you knowingly or intentionally come within 25 feet of a working police officer and you're ordered to back up, that means that you violated the law. And so what Steve is rightly pointing out is there's already laws in place about restricting or obstructing or delaying police officers. And this is really more about trying to prevent you from filming and watching what they do. And anybody who's followed my channel has seen on my channel how, a lot of police have engaged in pernicious conduct, like illegally throwing down drop-down weapons or drugs into people's cars so they get that collar, they get that bonus, they get that promotion. That's what it's all about. It's not about community policing like it was when my father was growing up and police were peace officers, right? It's totally different. It's all about the bottom line of raising revenue for the municipal corporation. In fact, you don't even try and establish a municipal corporation modernly until you have a report based upon how much revenue the police department will be able to raise in DUIs and traffic stops. That's a big cash cow. That's how they get their shiny new cruisers, and that's how they get their bonuses and pensions. So it's a really, really big deal. Oh my gosh, thanks to Wood for joining my channel. Wasn't expecting that. DeWoo just bought himself a membership. He's still in the fight against the unconstitutional concealed carry weapons scheme in California. I feel for you about that, but my friend Alan Beck and I were fighting at the front of the mass of lawyers in support of you in California to make sure you get your Second Amendment right. Actually, rights that are recognized under the Second Amendment, But I don't want to get too far off. Hey, Let's OTVO. Thank you, Swedish Observer, for joining me. Jody Shiloh, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the super chats and all that stuff, guys. Really means a lot. Me going live in the middle of my day does take away from my work, but this is a breaking story, so I want to get it out to you. So basically, attorneys representing news agencies want the judge to declare this new law that the governor has signed into law in Louisiana to violate the 14th Amendment. Probably, I would say it's based upon lacking due process, and it's also a prior restraint. I mean, obviously, they're trying to prevent you from filming them, and most of us believe that that's because a lot of times they violate people's rights in order to get those collars, to get those arrests, and we want to make sure that we can hold them accountable. Most people don't understand that one of the main focuses of the First Amendment was government accountability, to be able to hold the government accountable. It was also about free speech and press and all that, but it was mainly about holding the government accountable. We had just thrown off an unjust king who tried to seize our gunpowder. The primary reason that war was launched is because the king, yes, was trying to take away our guns. Unfortunately, they don't teach you that in the public school system. The government-run schools don't want you to know about that, or the spirit of rebellion in which our country was born. But you can learn about that here on Team MPE and Ask Michael Ehline all about it. So, hey, Christopher, good seeing you, my friend. So really quickly, I want to blaze through this because, again, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have as much time as Steve probably has because I've got a couple of hearings coming up today and I still got to shower up and all that. But they're asking the court to issue a preliminary injunction to stop the state from enforcing the law, and attorneys for the state want the case dismissed because the governor signed it and therefore it must be a great law, right? So this happened back on July 31st, and before the law was set to go into effect, these news organizations tried to stop it, and now it's before a federal judge in Louisiana. Hopefully, give me a bunch of ones if you guys understand the procedural posture so far. By the way, give me a bunch of shout outs for Lane Myers. He just made me a moderator over at his channel. That was kind of ticklish, because I thought that everybody over there hated lawyers, and I guess Lane's giving me a pass. So give me a bunch of ones for me being able to get a pass from Lane Myers and becoming a moderator over at his channel. That was pretty cool. That was like the highlight of my day. That tells me that at least I'm getting through to people as a lawyer and being able to use my capacity as an attorney and a member of the so-called British Accreditation Registry, which is totally bunk, and we'll do another story about that. But either way, at least some people are starting to understand that some people get into law for different reasons, and I'm one of them. So lawmakers in Arizona, excuse me, in Indiana passed similar laws, and those are running into all kinds of problems. But these buffer laws are a real problem, and it's a trend propping up because of people like Chili DeCastro. And I would say that he's the primary reason for that. And I'll just play a little clip from what happened with him so you can kind of get an understanding.
And that's also going to come up in a second here. That's what I'm
Also,
laying it.
Mike, also point out where he's actually standing there too.
Yeah, so you can see he's standing at this white line.
In front of the white line.
In front of the white line. Remember, that's going to come up later too, because the officer says that he wasn't backing up and then retracted that and then said he only backed up a couple of inches. But we know that's not true, and we'll show you all that. But anyways, what BZ Watchdog really helps a lot too. But I just want to get into this with you. So this Fields case in 2017 found that upholding the public's right to film the police is a right that even goes even beyond protection of the press, because it protects the public's right of access, the First Amendment, to information about their officials and public activities. And that's the big problem. We see this big push with all these government agents and agencies and public officials trying to declare people like us who support the First Amendment as crazies, trying to use their friends over at the NIH, right, to paint us as mental cases, trying to paint the people who support the Constitution and Bill of Rights as crazy sovereign citizens, right? So they can say we're all crazy and then be able to target us and make us look like crazies, right? The village idiots. But really what these people are doing, and they may not do it perfectly, is they're protecting the right of access to information about officials' public activities. So what people like Chili are doing.
So that's basically, again, I don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to share that with you. So that was that was based on our friend Chili getting falsely arrested because he was standing about 10 to 15 feet away, maybe further, filming an officer making an investigative stop, I guess, to write a ticket to some lady. Allegedly, we're not totally sure what happened there. But as a result, he was falsely arrested, and the judge used as a basis the officer's testimony that there was this 21-foot rule. And of course, we know, because I am a use of force expert as a lawyer, we know that 21-foot buffer rule is based on an old study that was done, and it's not really even a really valid study that talks about how long it would take someone to charge an officer, for example, with a knife before the officer could draw down and eliminate the threat. But in actuality, they don't like being filmed. And we've seen plenty of my videos that talk about that. They just don't like being filmed. They always say, well, we can film it, but they always turn away, right? When they're violating people's rights, they'll turn that camera away. And it's just all a bunch of gobbledygook, and people don't like it. People don't like that. They'll edit their cameras. They'll turn them off when they do their little roadside huddles to cover up what they're trying to do to get false arrests. It's already bad enough that the Supreme Court, many say, has given officers the right to lie to get convictions when they investigate, which has turned the public sentiment against the police, because I grew up with the 1 Adam 12, right? And CHIPS, where police were considered to be gods, emergency 1 Adam 12. But now as we get older and more mature, we understand that they actually have the right to lie to people, and that's a way they get a lot of convictions, by lying to people. And give me a bunch of ones if you think that's totally unfair. Hey, Greg B., thank you. And this is a breaking story. And the breaking news is we have a Louisiana case now, this 25-foot rule that was signed by the governor over there to prevent people from filming within 25 feet of a police arrest or stop, right? They call it officer safe, whatever they want to call it. We know they're really just trying to prevent you from filming their arrests or get the audio down. So what's going on is somebody with the Committee for Freedom of the Press, speaking over at Vern News, talked about this as well. And you can check this out on Steve Lados's channel. Really like the guy. I think he's got a great channel. These people are saying that it violates the 14th Amendment, fails to uphold due process, equal protection laws, because the language of the law is too vague. So it's a very short law. And I don't have time to go through the whole statute, but it's very short. You can look it up. And anytime you have a really short law, it becomes open to interpretation. And that's another problem. That's why I believe we should be electing people based on how many laws they delete, not how many laws they pass. Give me a bunch of ones. Less government means more freedom. So, and if there are less laws, there's less enforcement, which means there's less of a need for police, right? There's less of a need for police because now many people call police road pirates. or revenue generation agents. They don't even look at them as police. And so that's another reason why they're held in disdain by the public, because the public realizes they're there to raise revenue and not protect them. By the way, police have no duty to protect individuals. It's the Supreme Court. And you can look that up. I've got several videos about that on the Michael Ehline channel. Now, basically, people are saying, the people opposing this are saying that it's a very short statute. It's not that easy to understand because it has, as Steve says, broad strokes that get you to vagueness. They argue the law fails to tell people what conduct is prohibited, fails to give adequate warning of the buffer being created, and encourages arbitrary and discriminatory enforcement. We saw that with Chili DeCastro, even without the law, just with the policy, it was enough to get him locked up for 4 months, unlawfully, by the way. So I wish him well in his civil rights lawsuit against the police department in Nevada for what happened to him. Terrible what happened to him. Give me a bunch of ones if you think it's terrible that people can be falsely imprisoned for exercising their First Amendment rights. So basically, there is a lot going on here. I'm trying to just skim through this really quick. Obviously, people like me, civil libertarians, are saying obviously this law was written to restrict free speech rights, and it has the effect of restricting all sorts of perfectly legal and constitutional activity like photojournalism, taking a picture of a newsworthy event. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. I do. It also, if it's a place where the police happen to be near protesters, well, now that gives them a pretextual reason to be able to arrest these people. And we know that even if these people don't have money, that the taxpayers will gladly subsidize the private commercialized prison industrial complex. So either way, the police are getting a bonus or getting their money, right? Based on a number of arrests. So it's not even anymore about fleecing the public directly. They can fleece the public indirectly through arrests and government subsidization of prisoners. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. I'm not totally awake yet. Had a rough night last night. Working on an appellate brief right now in my spare time. All right, so let's just get into it. They're saying, the police are saying that it ensures that law enforcement will be able to do their jobs without threat or obstruction. They're saying that several incidents have happened where police officers were injured while carrying out their lawful duties. But I haven't seen that to be the case at all. I've never seen a case where someone standing with a camera has ever tried to injure or attack a police officer. I've seen police officers try to attack or injure the person with the camera all the time. That's like par for the course. And then they'll immediately charge the person with resisting, obstructing, delaying, and then make that person's life miserable. So I have not seen any examples of someone with the camera attacking police. If you can find me one, I'd love to see it. Good morning, Rhine Labs. Good morning, Terry Marine BMF. And thank you again for supporting me, Let's OTVO. And Jersey Bob. So basically what they're saying now is attorneys for the state said back in October that the case should be dismissed because the plaintiff can't show actual harm has been or will be caused by the law, not if it was enforced against someone or their employees like a news agency. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I think that the court is really going to have to find in favor of the plaintiffs here. Just because a law was passed and you can file a lawsuit doesn't mean anything if it gets enforced. So we need to make sure that the law doesn't get enforced. Now, let me see here. A reserve deputy police officer in Erie County for over 40 years told Ver News that he thinks law enforcement officers are entitled to enforce reasonable restrictions, but he said those restrictions can't be arbitrary. Why 25 foot? Why not 24? Why not 26? Like what? So it's an arbitrary. So you understand where I'm coming. It's totally arbitrary, and obviously it's based to keep people away from seeing and hearing what's going on, because obviously that tape or that video could be used to help undo a lot of false arrests. And that's what the argument is. And I agree with that, having done criminal defense as well as habeas corpus as part of my appellate practice. I know that that's what they do for a fact. And I know that they'll pretextually arrest you for obstructing an officer in interfering with an officer as a way to silence you, because now you can't even sue them until you get that criminal case dismissed. It's very difficult to win a case when you have pending charges or you lose the criminal case, which will bring me into the Carolina and Fort Worth case in just one second. So they've got all these different rules. Now they want to have a 25-foot buffer law. They're saying that if an officer is engaged in the lawful performance of their duties, blah, 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 that they need to have this extra space between a journalist or someone taking pictures. And the law talks about $500 or imprisonment, 60 days in jail. So really, it definitely is going to terrify people from photographers and people out there who are trying to do stories and whatnot. And let me just get into it really quick here. They're talking about examples about evacuating schools and how it's going to be unsafe, like there's a football field and journalists are going to get in the way, and coming up with all these crazy reasons to keep journalists and people away who could potentially cover the story. And there are stories on YouTube about being 15 feet away, 20 feet away. It's all just crazy, in my opinion, and that's kind of what's going on. I'm just skimming through this quickly, guys. Why not 25 foot? Why not 24 foot, right? Why not 5 feet? Like, what's going on here? So they're, talking about just making you face jail time if you're a photojournalist or you're filming. That's really scary. Very, very terrifying to people who are out there trying to enforce their rights. Now, obviously, it's a way to raise an enormous amount of revenue and to silence people. There was a case in Indiana as well, and I'll play this for you because it's a short one. And this is what happened in Indiana. This is crazy.
New tonight at 11, a U.S. District Court just found Indiana's 25-foot buffer law is unconstitutionally vague. It granted a preliminary injunction against this law. So state legislators passed this back in April of 2023. So it allows police officers to ask bystanders to stand and back up 25 feet from where an officer is working. The Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, along with local media outlets, including our TV station, challenged the law as unconstitutional.
Yeah, by the way, make sure to tap that like and subscribe button. Tap that like and subscribe button. All right. So real quick, I'm going to just try to open this bad chicken up. All right. So today, it looks like it's going to be in about, an hour or so. BZ Watchdog is going to cover what's going on, the latest news in the Carolina and Fort Worth story. I'm going to drop the link for y'all to be able to view that. By the way, BZ Watchdog brings a lot of really valuable content and public records request information that other people aren't getting. So I highly recommend that you help support him financially. He's one of the only police auditors, cop watchers who puts his own money out there to try and get police records, to try and get the actual body cam footage. If I could say, if there was anybody out there right now who deserves a super chat or to support his business of like $100 or more, he's the guy, because he's one of the very few people who puts the money out there to actually get police records and do public records requests. So his channel today, he's going to be covering the Carolina and Fort Worth trial. And I think that they're doing voir dire in that particular case, which would be the jury selection. And it may or may not go to trial in some really outlandish charges. She was joking around with some officers right before she got body slammed by this scumbag Kruger and almost died from that. She was knocked unconscious and placed into torture cuffs while she was knocked unconscious, while he screamed, "Stop resisting," as sounds like she's snoring, right? Because she's out. And basically what's going on there, she made a comment like "fire, fire, fire," like joking around. And these prosecutors literally went ahead and charged her with that, like placing the public in danger or making a false statement to the police, something like that. I'm not totally sure. I'm not her lawyer. I have nothing to do with her case, civilly or criminally. I've got no skin in the game other than the fact that I'm a personal injury lawyer licensed to practice law in Texas, and I know a little bit about what the police are up to over there. Most of my clients are motorcycle accident victims and military veterans. I'm a supporter of the Leathernecks Motorcycle Club, and I'm heavily involved with the Peacemaker chapter out in Texas. But I support all the Leathernecks motorcycle riders. I think they're the best motorcycle club members, and a lot of them are combat vets, and I do my best to try to help them in any way, shape, or form, even when it comes to their claims with the VA, to try to help them get their disability claims sorted out. So that's kind of what I do. I am somebody who does personal injury law, guys, in California and Texas, but I also have an interest in natural law. I am a natural law advocate and a libertarian. So I support people who stand up for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So I'm asking you to support BZ Watchdog. By the way, take a look at Lane Meyer's channel, by the way. He has an unorthodox style. He's a pro-per litigant. He can get away with stuff I could never get away with. But I just like you to see what the corruption that he's exposed in the Arizona court system. And it's just like unbelievable. And if you look, a lot of people don't like him because he's loud and brash, and he argues and violates all the rules of decorum. But again, he is a pro-per litigant, so he has more leeway than someone like me under the Balistrary versus Pacifica line of cases. So again, I'm not here to say that's the way I would do it. I certainly don't want you guys to try and act like him or behave like him in court, because you probably would get locked up. But when you have a support network of people like me and Chili, like Chili's support network over at Delete Laws, and you have their processing speed, right? When you have their brains, you're going to be in a better position to win. But again, Chili got locked up for 4 months while he was fighting his 21-foot rule case. So you better make sure that you have the ability to have friends out there to help you run your YouTube channel and feed your dog, feed your family. Don't just go out there willy-nilly thinking, I saw this YouTube video and I'm going to be able to do this. Absolutely not. If anything, I always recommend that you try to use civility, and you try to be kind and courteous, because that completely throws them off. Completely throws them off. It takes away a lot of artillery they could have with a jury to try. And even if you win your case, a jury that doesn't like and trust your case will give you $1. Whereas if they think you were kind and courteous, like the Long Island Audits guy, they'll give you the big bucks. So I'm just trying to help you guys understand there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I always recommend being kind and courteous, because I was raised that way. I was reared up that way, being reared up as a Swedish Lutheran and always being told to be courteous, considerate, and kind. And so I try to live my life that way. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt and judge not the person, but judge the doctrine by which they live. So good seeing you, Dr. Donna Walter. Good seeing you, Terry Marine, BMF. Uro! And Dawood, Asha, I love having you here. I love having my Second Amendment buddies on here. And yes, Dr. Donna, I definitely still would love to interview you and have you on my show or be on your show and talk about what's going on with, I know you were running for an election. I'd like to get the aftermath of that. I know I wanted to support you and raise funds for you, but I guess that didn't work out. And then Jersey Bob, love having you on here. Low Dimes. So Low Dimes says that I guess low dimes means a dime bag that's low. I'm not sure. I wouldn't know that, obviously, because I would know nothing about that. But let's see here. So he's talking about Lane Myers getting his cases tossed out, and that's because Lane is relentless. The guy is a savage. And I can't argue with success, guys. Again, I would never do anything in any way, shape, or form to put him down. I'm just saying that you guys don't try to be like him. If you've watched him go through Westlaw and tear through Westlaw and look up case law, the guy's processing speed is off the charts. He's like a Cray computer. Don't think that you're going to be like him. Try and always work from a system of being courteous, considerate, and kind, and learn proper decorum, because that takes away about 90% of the police officers and the court's power, because now they can't do the whole point the finger game and say, look, he was rude and abusive. And then they have a bunch of people on the jury who usually are going to be supporting the cops anyways, who are now questioning, going, wait, he was a nice guy. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything. So they'll find in your favor. That's what I'm trying to get at. The nicer you are and the more courteous you are, unless you're at Lane's experience level or Chili DeCast, even with Chili's experience level, he still got locked up for 4 months. And I'm sure he'll be the first one to tell you that he's going to change his game now, because you're not going to be an effective auditor or an effective pro-Constitution advocate when you're locked up. It just doesn't happen. So I'm just telling you guys, take it from me, someone who's also been falsely arrested, which started me on my journey to becoming an officer of the court, a bar guy, or whatever you want to call me, so I could help the very people like Chili and Lane become more successful. So I am going to call it a day. I gave you about a half hour out of my day, guys, and now I've got to make up for the time lost, but it wasn't really lost, but it was lost as far as being able to feed my family and be productive. I don't make any money off this YouTube channel. Sometimes I break even when people pick up a copy of my ebook, which is called My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. This is a soft cover version, which is not for sale. The ebook is available for $19.99. You go to my YouTube channel, you click more, and you drop it down, and you'll see my Instagram, you'll see my X, and you'll see my PayPal link. Click on the PayPal link. If you can't use PayPal, reach out to me through BZ Watchdog or Rami, and we'll try to find another way for you to get me the funds so you can get a copy of the digital version of this book, which I will explain to you how you can become a lawyer without a law degree or without an undergrad in several of the states, just the way it always was until the academic industrial complex destroyed the original Inns of Court system, where you became a lawyer like me, where you became an intern and you studied under a judge or a lawyer until just like judo, right? Until you earned your belts, almost like a belt system. It's the only way I could describe it. And then had a test where you stood before either a panel of or a judge who already knew you and understood that you were credible. And it had the effect of bringing people closer together, because you knew if they were trustworthy or if they were scumbags. And if they were scumbags, you didn't admit them to the bar. So I believe that's a superior system, and that's the system that I recommend for you people, especially people who don't have a lot of money. Thank you, Dr. Donna Walter. I definitely would love to have you. And again, do me a favor, guys. Please support. Go ahead. I'm going to drop the link one more time just to make it easy for you. BZ Watchdog show is going to be live in a little bit. So I'm going to drop the link here again for you. BZ Watchdog is going to give you, it's in 2 hours, and he's going to give you the Carolina and Fort Worth trial update. BZ Watchdog also has a self-defense products website, and he sells self-defense products like a spray foam that's like a pepper spray that's not like an aerosol that blows back in your face. So please, 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 with Christmas coming up, do your best to buy as many products from him and support him in any way, shape, or form with super chats and likes and subscribes to make sure we build his channel, because he brings a perspective, and he's also a fellow Marine, so obviously I have to support him because we're a band of brothers, but he brings a perspective and an energy that few people bring. So please make sure to always support BZ Watchdog's channel. And yeah, so, I appreciate that. Justin Knighton says, book deals are how the left pays bribes. They give you 100 times what the book will ever sell. I don't think that actually, they actually print the books. Yeah, that's probably true, Justin. Look, this book took me a couple years to write because I'm a busy lawyer, but I wanted to document my experience of how I became a lawyer on the law study program, to give you guys some hope, because there's so many of you, and I don't believe in the academic industrial complex. I believe it brainwashes our youth into hating our country. I believe most professors lean far hard Marxist left, and they hate America. They try to tell you that all of our founders were evil. And they do that because they don't want natural law. They don't want a Bill of Rights. They don't want a constitution. They want democracy, which is mob rules. They want their party with 51% to be able to control everyone else. And I disagree with that. I believe in individual rights. And so I believe that the further away you get from public schools and homeschooling that you get towards, the better off your children will be, the better off you will be. And that's why we should all develop parallel systems where we help one another and we support each other's businesses, and stop shopping at places like Target and all these companies that try to warp and destroy the minds of our children and make them hate their founding fathers. And I believe America is a very special and glorious place. Despite whatever mistakes our founders may have made, they were also products of their time, just like you're a product of your time. And for someone 300 years later, based upon the evolution of the system that you set in place of freedom, to now come back and accuse you of being a terrible person after you laid the groundwork to make it more free for them, I believe those people are the village idiots. So give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to double tap the screen. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. I will make a good faith effort to go live tonight, but now because I burned off about half hour, 45 minutes of my day, I've got to play catch up to try to get caught up on my work that I'm already behind on. But God bless you all. Semper Fidelis. And Justin Knighton, thank you for, that's right, Dr. Donna Walter. Keep your kids as far away from Target as you can. If you love your children and you live in a place like California or New York, you will flee those states, because the academic industrial complex is there to destroy the minds of your children with weird, in my opinion, Luciferian ideology that goes against everything our founding fathers and, of course, parents stand for. So they're trying to make the 3% of this country the rule instead of the exception. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that that's absurd. And again, thank you also, Letso TVO, for joining me. And you're right, Justin Knighton, and we should talk about that. And if you have a business you want to add to the michaelehline.com website, the Parallel Systems page, let me know. I'm in contact with Brett Pike as well. I'm going to try to do some kind of a deal with him where I can offer his homeschooling program at a discount to the Team MPE members. So be on the lookout for that. He's got an amazing, patriotic, pro-parent homeschooling program that supports also homesteading, teaching kids, how to use a sundial, teaching kids how to start their own business, which is what we need. We need less college degrees and brainwashing and more practical skills. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And Jersey Bob, love seeing you here. All you guys, thank you so much again for supporting Team MPE and supporting my channel. Love all you guys. I'm always here for you. Even if I can't take your case, I'll try to help you find a lawyer in your state. Even if it's not the type of law I practice, I will still try and support your cause the same way that I'm trying to support Lane Myers. Give me a bunch of ones for Lane Myers, and make sure to like and subscribe to his channel as well to get a different perspective than you get from me. With that being said, again, make sure to like and subscribe. Double tap that screen. Semper Fi, do or die.